Hello guys, Chris here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the GeForce GTX 1080 Ti in Forspoken. So this one is the Gigabyte gaming version of the card, triple fan edition. I am not overclocking it manually, and we're running it with the latest Nvidia drivers at the time of recording this video. You can see all of the GPU specs right here in Tech Power-Up's GPU Z. It has 11 gigabytes of GDDR5X, and it released back in 2017. But usually, it's still a beast, you know, in many of the latest titles, but not in this one because it's Forspoken. Over on the left, we're pairing it with a Ryzen 7 5800X3D and 32 gigabytes of RAM to avoid CPU bottlenecks. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's go over the settings first. I'm playing at 1080p resolution, and we're also going to test higher resolutions in this video, and we're using the low settings with these on high right here because, you know, they don't really affect your FPS by too much. Performance FSR 2, which is the default for low settings, by the way. And all right, let's see. It doesn't look very good like this, honestly. Especially like the trees at the distance. They look kind of terrible, but at least, oh my god, that's a smudgy mess, actually. Whenever you're running, like your clothes, it looks really awful. But at least we know that we can play at above 60 frames per second with a GTX 1080 Ti. You just gotta play with the equivalent of like 360p resolution in FSR, you know? It's terrible, kind of. So I do not recommend anybody to play with FSR on performance here at 1080p with the 1080 Ti, but you know what? For 60 plus FPS all of the time, it might be needed, because whenever you do this, it usually drops a heck of a lot. Okay, it's dropping into like the lower 70s though, so not a problem. Okay, it's good to see. Oh boy, 60s there. Maybe you actually need these settings to play at 60 plus all of the time. But okay, at least compared to like a 1060 from the same generation, it's way better. What the hell is that? What? I've never seen that before. Alright, we're playing the demo here today because I am not spending money on this game. It also costs 80 euros, so... Oh, what is that face? Let's go ahead and set it to custom right here and disable that FSR. So, with native 1080p resolution, high textures, which again, barely drop your FPS because we do have enough VRAM, let's see if it gets 60 plus. All right. Oh my god, it already dropped, guys. So we're not doing anything intensive whatsoever, and it's already below 60 FPS. See, like, this optimization is so terrible, dude. Holy crap. I can't believe that I still got, like, about 10 comments in my 1060 video blaming the card itself, saying that, oh, it's just an old card. It's 7 years old almost. What were you expecting, you know? It shouldn't keep up with the latest and greatest titles anymore. First of all, this is a latest title, but not one of the greatest. Second of all, there are games from 2016 that look better than this. So yeah, getting these FPS with a 1080 Ti at 1080p is just, it's kind of stupid, honestly, guys. Like, what the hell? At least you can play, you know? You don't really need 60 plus all of the time for this game to be enjoyable, since it's a single player title and not a first person shooter and so on. But, I mean, this is 1080p low settings, dude. And it drops into the 40s, possibly even into the 30s in just a little bit, guys. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it still feels alright, doesn't really stutter all of the time, you know. There are a few stutters here and there while loading things, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that I would say hinders the experience at all. So yeah, you can get 60 FPS on average with the 1080 Ti. In the demo, the actual game is slightly more intensive, remember that. What if you want quality FSR 2 at 1080p low settings? Yeah, that is definitely enough to put us above 60 all of the time. If you require that, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this thing out again. There we go. Yeah, oh, it still drops a little bit. But I would actually choose the native resolution, even if the 1% lows are much better here using FSR at 1080p. I think the image just becomes a little bit soft, a little bit too pixelated in some areas and smudgy as well, especially on moving things. So I don't really like the FSR implementation in this one too much, at least at 1080p. That's a different story for higher resolutions. Next up, I guess, yeah, let's move on to 1440p, okay? Resolution is now applied, 2560 by 1440, using the low settings without FSR. Again, FSR comes on by default on low settings at performance, but it looks really terrible. Still playable, guys. All right, 1080 Ti still has what it takes to play this game, even at 1440p. It might drop, though. And you know what? At least the textures can look decent, because we do have those 11 gigabytes of VRAM. So in that regard, 1080 Ti is still doing a decent job. If you compare it to like the 1060, for example, 1060 was so terrible. It didn't even get 30 plus at 720p low. But yeah, the 1060 is also the minimum required GPU for this game at 720p 30 FPS. And honestly, I was expecting a little bit slower performance here on the 1080 Ti, since it's from the same architecture and they didn't give a crap about optimizing the game for older GPUs, apparently. But yeah, as you can see, you can still play above 30 FPS with the 1080 Ti. What a beast this was, and kind of still is in some games, aside from this one in Dead Space. Yeah, not bad at all, okay? That's not to say that you should buy the game, especially at its current price, you know, because I heard that the story and everything else, like the dialogue as well, is pretty bad, so just avoid this one, I guess. But I didn't really play it through. Again, this is the demo version, and I'm here just to test performance. All right. Anyways, 1440p with quality FSR. This doesn't have DLSS, by the way, because it's a GTX card. A lot of people ask me, why didn't you test DLSS with 1080 Ti? Well, that's why. It only came out on RTX GPUs. And now we're gonna go ahead and do the Circle of Doom right here. There we go. Beautiful. And it's only dropping into the 40s now. FSR actually makes a huge difference here to FPS. I don't think the DLSS made that much of a difference. Interesting. Hello, sir. How's it going? Oh, there we go. We gotta get a little bit of a fight here. Oh, no, never mind. That was super easy, dude. Okay, that's probably because I am playing at the lowest difficulty. I'm not sure. But all right. And let's get this. He's already dead, dude. Oh my god. I just couldn't you be a little bit tougher, please? Now we're at 4K resolution, and this is of course outside of the capabilities of the 1080 Ti these days. You should not play at 4K with this card. There are some games that will work pretty well, older titles especially that came out around the time as the 1080 Ti did. But of course, everybody was expecting this, I believe, right? 20s at 4K resolution in Forspoken with the 1080 Ti is what you get. It's not terrible. It's at least, it's not like single digits, you know, and doesn't drop from 20 too much, only inside of these huge fire effects. So there's that. But yeah, obviously, nobody, absolutely nobody should play like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and enable FSR, see if that works. Yeah, it still drops from 30 with these effects, guys. Not very good at all. It's mostly playable, but whenever you do this, it will drop, basically. As you can see, once again, 28, 27. Could be worse. Could be worse, but this is definitely not a 4K card, so let's not spend a lot of time here at 4K resolution. Alright, now I bumped it up to the medium settings, and we're back to 1080p resolution, and on medium standard settings, FSR is actually disabled at this res, and everything else is set to medium, of course. And I've heard people with like the 3070 saying that they're dropping from 60 at these settings. That's very concerning, of course. Oh, we got some motion blur as well. We gotta disable that crap. We're getting 50s. That's to be expected because at native 1080p using low settings, we got like what, 60 FPS and some drops sometimes. So yeah, it's not bad, but it is not very good for sure, especially for this kind of GPU. I'm curious to see like a 5700 XT or RX 6600 XT, which I also have here in the collection. So maybe I'm gonna try the 6600 XT next in this game to see how well it fares against the 1080 Ti, because 1080 Ti was really similar in performance to the RX 5700 XT, which is really similar in performance to the RX 6600. So it should be an interesting test for sure. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. Not dropping into the 20s. Oh, never mind. 29 there at the end, just to shut me up a little bit. Holy crap, dude. Yeah, it still drops a little. Damn. Of course, it's worst case scenario again with all of this fire around us, but I would have thought that it wouldn't drop from 30 FPS. If you want to enable quality FSR, you should bump it up by quite a bit, yeah, but again, it starts looking really pixelated at this resolution, and I do not recommend it. It doesn't drop from, like, even 40, I guess. So yeah, if you have a smaller monitor, this might look good, but it definitely doesn't for me. Now, what about 1440p with these same settings? Gonna disable FSR first. And let's see how it performs. Oh my god. Oh, it's already the 30s. Lower 30s. Damn. Alright, it's definitely gonna drop, obviously, because it's... Oh, what did I do there? It already dropped a little, of course. At 1080p. Oh my. This is so bad. You know what? Like, Call of Duty Warzone 2 is also a pretty intensive game, you know. A lot of GPUs struggle with that game, especially older ones. And this GPU can play it at 1440p with, I think, high or medium settings. I don't remember. I think it might have been balanced settings and 60 FPS plus most of the time, except when you get into water, it drops there. But yeah, this can't even achieve 30 plus, dude. It's insane how demanding this game is and how not well optimized it is as well, because it's just the graphics, they don't justify it, obviously. This lighting over here, it reminds me of freaking Ark Survival Evolved. With the bloom effects enabled. It's really bad looking, at least to me. Yeah, this is not really that enjoyable like this. Enabling quality FSR at 1440p medium. Yeah, it definitely puts us above 30 FPS all of the time, I guess. Let's see it over here. Okay, no problems. It might drop here and there still if you have a big monster inside of this circle. Also casting some spells and stuff like that. Since it drops into the 30s already. But yeah, it could be worse. I'm not even gonna test 4K here. There's just no point, okay? So let's go back to 1080p and play on high. Okay, here we go. This is the high settings preset. Just gonna set it to custom over here so we can disable the motion blur, and we're playing at 1080p. FSR comes off by default. And all right, this isn't too terrible. It's not too different from what we got at medium settings. We might be getting like what, 5 less FPS or so. Yeah, maybe sometimes a little bit more than that. But yeah, the fact that the game doesn't stutter too much is pretty decent. At least they cared a little bit about that. Or maybe the engine is just not prone to stuttering. I don't know. I don't believe they optimized anything, honestly. But yeah, it's playable here, guys. High settings. Not dropping too much here. It might drop, though, because I think it dropped at medium settings. Why is it not dropping at high settings but dropped on medium? I don't understand. Maybe those effects are the same on medium and high, and just other things that change. Yeah, I don't know. But it's quite decent right now, not completely awful for sure. And you know, high settings are supposed to run pretty terribly, I guess, on old GPUs. So I'm not really surprised to see these FPS again. This would be justifiable if we got like 90 FPS on low and like 70 FPS on medium or something like that. Enabling quality DLSS puts us in the 60s. This is basically what we've seen on medium already. Like, why are we testing high here? Why is there a high settings preset that runs almost the same as medium and looks almost the same as well? You know what? Let's bump it up to ultra high then, because that's where the differences are, you know. This actually enables ray tracing, as you can see, guys. I fully restarted the game, alright guys, and we're back to 1080p using the maximum settings, aside from motion blur, of course. Oh, okay, ray tracing doesn't work. In some games, it actually works on Nvidia 10 series GPUs. I've made a video on that in the past, actually, on the 1080 Ti and 1060. But in this one, ray tracing is disabled. Well, it wouldn't run well at all if it was enabled, so I'm not really mad about that whatsoever. What I'm mad about is it still looks the same. Like, there is not much of a difference between like medium and ultra settings. The trees at the distance also look pretty bad. The LOD is still bad, you know, it's still short. I don't understand. Why is it so intensive? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyways, 40s around here. Will it drop from 30? Yeah, probably. It's already in the 30s. Okay. How is it not dropping yet? What? It's still the same thing as medium settings in terms of FPS, right? No, okay. Now it's... Okay, there we go. Now it's dropping a lot more. Yeah, alright then. It is different. It is different from medium in terms of performance. Sometimes it's around the same, but other times when things hit up a little, it's way more intensive. We got a little bit better AO, or ambient occlusion and shadows on the grass at least, which I was complaining about earlier. But it should be even better, right? For this kind of performance, it should look amazing. Sorry about that, guys. The camera just stopped recording there without me noticing it. But yeah, that's about it. I'm just gonna test it with quality FSR. At 1440p, it wouldn't be playable whatsoever, obviously. So we'll leave it here at 1080p, ultra settings. No need to test 1440. Medium settings on 1440 was already pretty terrible without FSR anyways. Yeah, and over here with FSR, again, at 1080p, it just looks terrible. I would not enable it. Even though we get massively more FPS, it's really, really bad looking. Can you please stop doing this? I'm trying to take a look at your friends over here to see that at the distance, they just look like a smudgy mess, but alright then. Believe me, things at the distance that are moving look like a smudgy mess. And it still drops into the 30s at times here, even with FSR on Ultra. So if you have a 1080 Ti and you really want to play this game for some reason, use the medium settings at 1080p native or 1440p with FSR. I think that's the best that the 1080 Ti can offer in terms of visuals to performance ratio. So that's been it, my friends. Thank you very much for watching yet another Forspoken video. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next one very soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.